we all get seated? Before we start our proceedings, we'll have a she moment by Mokgweetsi Masisi from Debswana Mine.
Yeah, thank you, the Director of Ceremony. And I'll stand by the protocol that you would establish. But first of all, let me recognize the presence of His Excellency, the President of this Republic, Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi. Thank you, sir. And your cabinet ministers and members of parliament present here, and all the industry leaders here present. I'm going to give you a safety moment about, because we're getting into the hot season, the warm season, summer, about the venomous reptiles, particularly focusing on the scorpions. The scorpions, the venom from the scorpion seeks to kill or paralyze the prey, and and it contains neurotoxin, which is a chemical that affects the nervous system. And the first thing that you need to do when you get in touch with the scorpions is that first and foremost, get yourself out of the area, the incident area, and make sure that, so that you don't get another sting, as well as making sure that you call for help. And you have to wash the sting area with soap and water. And also make sure that you don't try to catch it, because if you catch it, the likelihood is that you might get stung again. And lastly, it's very important, do not use aspirin or brufen, because they are likely to spread the venom very quickly. But the most simple things to do is to make sure that, for protection, make sure that you check your shoes, you check your clothes before you put them on, and make sure that you put, also make sure that the area that you don't walk barefooted, and as well as the street lighting, especially at cattle posts, is very important to make sure that the scorpions don't move around easily. I think that is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much, and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Godfrey. We're back here, and I would like you to imagine a future where we're self-sufficient as a country, where all that we need to live on is made locally, where our products are both in the regional markets and in the global markets, representing the pride and potential that is Botswana. And that is the very reason we're having this summit this morning and for the next 2 days. My name is Boitumelo Mbakanyi. I'm program manager of an exciting program called the Sustainable Private Sector Development Program, and we've partnered with the Botswana Chamber of Mines on this summit. It is a program that cuts across the 3 portfolios of the country office, which is green, prosperity, and just. So we show all the private sector related activities we're in charge of. I would like to welcome you to the 2nd Local Manufacturing Summit, brought to you by the BCM, the Botswana Chamber of Mines, in partnership with UNDP and its partners. These include Debswana, Stanbic Bank, Okavango Diamond Company, Abaricom, Premier Clothing, and so forth. The government of Botswana is also a key partner in this summit through the Ministry of Entrepreneurship, the Minister of Trade, the Minister of Agriculture, as well as the National Planning Commission, whom we are going to hear from this morning on the diversified cluster focus, on the strategies that they're pursuing regarding local manufacturing. At UNDP, we believe that for a mining country like Botswana, if you are going to make any local economic development impact or any private sector development impact, it's through partnerships with the mining companies, because the mining companies are spread geographically throughout the country, so you're able to do. The mining sector is one of the largest procuring entities in the private sector. So it is very important that you are convening this morning and why we are having you today. I would like to introduce the guests. Everyone is a guest. I'm just going to go through just the key guests. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, the Minister of Minerals and Energy, Honorable Lefoko Maxwell Moagi, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Honorable Musi Khafela, the United Nations Development Programme Resident Representative, Dr. Balas Hovath, Business Botswana President, Mr. Neo Mwako, the Botswana Chamber of Mines Chairperson, Mr. Edwin Elias, Mr. Medla Masire of the Okavango Diamond Company, Mr. Andrew Mutsumi from Depswana, Mr. Chose Mudise from the Stanbic Bank, as well as the Premier Clothing CEO, Mr. Fazul Zahir. In addition, senior government officials, chief executive officers, heads of parastatals, and heads of industry here present, you are welcome to this event. Members of the media, members of the arts industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Good morning. Okay, that's more like it. Next up, we're going to have welcome remarks by the President of Business Botswana, Mr. Neo Mwako. Please come on stage right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Motsamaisa Tiro. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, Minister of Mineral Resources, Energy, also Member of Parliament for Ramotsa constituency, Honorable Lefoko Moagi, Minister of Trade, also Member of Parliament for Muchudi West, Musi Khafela. I have not seen any other ministers, but in case they are present, Development Program Resident Representative in Botswana, heads of parastatal in attendance. I think I've also seen, okay, yes, I've seen PSP here, and any other permanent secretaries in attendance. Ambassador to the US, District Commissioner Ms. Bokwane Dikgope Moseu, Honorable Councillors, Mr. Edwin Elias, Chairman of Botswana Chamber of Mines, Rachel Siwawa, Chief Executive of Chamber of Mines, senior government officials, heads of parastatals, all CEOs and MDs and executives present, heads of industries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, HE, we welcome you again to the second summit. I remember last year you did promise that if it indeed is going to be a good summit, you'll come back. So welcome back. Let me commence my welcome remarks by stating that the manufacturing sector has a very big and significant impact on the economy of Botswana, and any country for that matter. Your Excellency, in 2023 at the last local manufacturing summit, we presented some of the infantry industries in manufacturing. I'm pleased to announce that some of them have become sustainable at least in the short to medium term. Largely due to the prudence of the manufacturers and with dedication and principle and accountability to the market. Undoubtedly, there have been other challenges which are currently being worked on with a view to providing sustainability in these operations. It's safe to say that manufacturing is a long-term project and should be given the time and space for it to achieve its objective. There is a growing number of manufacturing projects that have been supported through the Chamber of Mines and its member mines to support local manufacturers. During the period under review, one other local entity has commenced earth-moving vehicle manufacturing in the country, albeit value-add as opposed to starting from scratch, but it's a very commendable effort, and I think it's worth a round of applause. Your Excellency, I'm proud to inform the summit that our member mines continue to implement several memorandum of agreements with different players, such as Botswana Investment and Trade Center, development financial institutions such as CEDA, as well as commercial banks, all aimed at growing the sector. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, our members have enrolled and continue to support several local manufacturers with a view to grow industry and the sector, at the same time contributing to the security of supply in some instances. The support offered by our member mines include capacity building of local manufacturers, ease of access to finance, and market access, to name a few. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, mining has continued to be a backbone of this country. However, this sector, as we know, is involved in a finite resource. There is need to diversify into other sectors, and hence manufacturing could be a great catalyst for this, because when fully fledged, it's able to help in reducing unemployment levels within this country. The mining industry itself consumes to a large extent, and the pula value of our consumption is unmatched. Our programs, project activities, such as this summit, demonstrate the commitment of Botswana Chamber of Mines around innovation aimed at contributing towards the economic diversification and growth agenda of Botswana. In 2024, the Chamber, under its wing, established what we call the Chamber of Mines Business Development Forum, otherwise COM-BDF, whose main aim is to utilize the combined aggregated mining sector purchasing power to attract investment, both foreign and domestic investment. This was done to facilitate the development of capable and competitive local enterprises to create jobs and diversify the economy. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, majority of the citizen enterprises developed and supported under this COMDEF program are distributors and agents of foreign-based companies and foreign-based manufacturers who supply imported goods and professional services to the local mining sector and other sectors in Botswana. While this is a commendable idea, we are well aware that in the long term, this is not sustainable. Therefore, as a responsive and responsible sector, we are duty-bound to work and support local manufacturers. We have, through our members, accepted the challenge to contribute towards the strengthening of capacity of our citizen clients, from business plan through engagement with end users, the market, financial institutions, through to product certification and operational readiness. We partner with other like-minded to train our own participating companies. The industry is also aware that as a sector, it cannot be sustainable as an entity without the support of others. It is a fact that government alone cannot do this. So it's in this context that we emphasize the need for stronger collaboration and strategic partners as fundamental building blocks for a thriving manufacturing industry. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, becoming successful manufacturing has several drivers, and one key lesson learned is the need for a well-aligned ecosystem comprising several elements. The impact of government policies is undoubtedly significant and can directly create both advantages and disadvantages. Hence the need for strategic use of public policy, collaboration between policymakers and business leaders to co-create and secure our future. Bagaetsho, one key lesson learned over the years is that this complexity also calls for conducive investor incentives for local manufacturing. One of the critical requirements for growing sustainable manufacturing relates to normalization of offtake agreements. The manufacturing sector is quite competitive from quality and price, as it meets these through mentoring programs available in the industry. It's therefore crucial that as private sector, as well as the public sector, align themselves with goods manufactured in Botswana. Without this market, this industry will remain stagnant with subsequent failure or collapse, and collapse the dream of creating employment. As colleagues in the funding space will confirm, offtakes agreements tend to unlock the great potential of the sector, especially for startups. They make it easier to avail information on products, quality, product specification, consumption volumes, and patterns from the market. The consequence is better and informed decision-making by local manufacturers, funders, and other stakeholders. For instance, a good offtake provides product specification that in turn assist manufacturers to invest in appropriate technologies to attain required products quality. In conclusion, Your Excellency, it is my honor to welcome you again to this second Chamber of Mines Local Manufacturing Summit. I wish all of you fruitful deliberations which will translate into appropriate actions at various levels of our institutions. Actions that will, in the short to long term, help in the transformation of this economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ngwako. The next speaker is Re Charles Siwawa, the CEO of Botswana Chamber of Mines. He'll be taking us through the achievements since the last launch of the summit. We did say last year that we are not a talk shop, so I'm really excited to hear what he has for everyone. Re Siwawa, please come up. May we all welcome him with a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Your Excellency, allow me to say protocol observed in the interest of time. Thank you. I'm going to take you through very short and precise, concise notes on really what transpired at this local manufacturing summit in 2023, what were the action items, the proposals, and how we've managed to mitigate those proposals. Some of them are work ongoing, and some we believe we've made some headway. But we would just like to emphasize those that we think are more crucial than others. Manufacturing itself, let me just divide that into three, is the procurement and acquisition of raw materials, the processing unit itself, and lastly, the market that you're going to take your products to. It doesn't really matter what you are producing, but basically that's, in its simple terms, what manufacturing is all about. So if you look at all those three, they all do have their project on their own. So we will not delve a lot into those projects, but safe to say, let me tackle the first one, that of ensuring that the market has readily available product standards and that the projects should be adequately funded. That was the one of the outcomes from this summit last year. And we had said that we would develop a centralized portal with product standards, specifications, and consumption figures so that people could be able to understand the ramifications and the spectrum of the issues that we are discussing. And that task was given to BCM. Some progress has been made, and the idea is to try and reduce failure rates of the manufacturing projects due to underfunding and so forth. Because if you are a manufacturing entity, you are a starter, and you are looking for 100,000, as an example, to start your project, and the financial institution gives you 75,000, it's very difficult to find the other 25,000 poolers. So in essence, what you're saying as a financial institution is you are actually giving money to a manufacturer to fail, because they are definitely not going to find the remaining 25,000. Therefore, you'll have a project that's really aborted. So we want to really close that gap and ensure that the project budget is well done, is watertight, and that the financial institutions can then accept this and be able to give the full financial value. Otherwise, the project will not be successful. Secondly, we should look at what was coming out here is that quality should be inherent in the production process, because you want to take your products to the market, and the market readily accepts goods that are of good quality. Now, if you're going to be sending goods there that are semi-finished products, it will not sell, and therefore your manufacturing unit will not survive. So we need to be taking all our manufacturers through a process of ensuring that they manufacture goods to the correct standards. We've already engaged Botswana Bureau of Standards, BOBS, to draw up standards that our manufacturers can use. And I think it's worked very well in terms of ensuring that we get those standards verified. The third point, and there's only 5 of them, the third point is export market access. We know that the population in Botswana is not large enough to support significant manufacturing companies. Therefore, we need to be looking at international markets. The bedding of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is one area where we think we can be able to access or take our goods to the market. We have a couple of speakers here that are going to speak today and tomorrow that are going to be telling us about how we can talk about accessing the markets within the region and how we can get our goods there into the market. So it's important that our goods are accepted in the market with issues around quality and so forth. Transport is another issue. We think that we need to develop our air freight and rail infrastructure that must be able to serve the industry other than just utilizing the road, because the road infrastructure is probably inadequate to support us in terms of transportation. So we also need to focus on the railway systems and on the air transport. And again, we've made headway in terms of talking to the relevant authorities on those issues. The fourth one is resetting the agenda towards manufacturing. Here, we are talking about looking at enhancing incentives towards manufacturing. The sector should not just focus on import substitution, but also on export market, and I think that was what was being defined. So we, from the welcome remarks by the President of Business Botswana, indicating that we need to fine-tune our procurement processes. I think there's a lot that is happening perhaps within the mining industry in terms of accepting the goods that have been locally manufactured. We need that type of model to spread within the rest of the private sector and also with the public sector, because I think that is where we think we could gain. There's enough money in terms of procurement of goods that we can be able to make our manufacturing sector a success. So we really need to put more effort in terms of accepting that Botswana can produce quality goods. And that's really what is important for us. I can attest here that some of our factories that have recently opened, they are actually producing not only to the standards, but they're actually beating the standards themselves. And they're manufacturing goods that are more quality than what is available in the market. But we need the public as well as the private sector to accept that our companies can be able to do that. The last one, Your Excellency, is to look at, oh, my paperwork is going to haywire. Yes, the last one is to talk about at the end of the day, we need to be able to manufacture to create value. And there's two values that really this manufacture is aimed at. One is the retention of capital in the country. Because if you can retain the capital in the country, we will be able to increase or improve the economy of this country. Two is to create employment. And we must focus on getting employment to the highest levels that we can. And I must add, Your Excellency, it's not great numbers, but at least we know that since the last manufacturing summit, we've been able to create companies that have put 1,500 jobs on the table. And that is not all. We think in terms of manufacturing, we can still push more. We're aiming for the next 2 years to put at least 12,000 jobs on the table for the country. And basically, Director of Ceremonies, that was my action items in terms of what the mining industry, with the rest of our partners. And I think we also need to appreciate our partners that are helping us in this particular exercise. The UNDP in particular, Debswana Diamond Company, who are actually at the helm of the push for citizen economic empowerment. Not forgetting Murupulo Coal Mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Resiwawa. You forgot the most important one, that through the UNDP Chamber of Mines partnership, we will now be a blueprint of the supply development program in the region. So we're developing a regional value chain program and helping countries set up. We're starting with Zambia, and it was one of the outcomes from last year's resolutions that there wasn't enough markets for produced goods. So yeah, thank you. You can actually get a round of applause. Thank you. And also just to comment on what you said, we've just issued terms of reference for a consultant to do a situational analysis on quality management and intellectual property. As entities, we are worried that we have all these SMEs that we're taking all over the world, but their products are really not trademarked or copyrighted and so forth. So we believe that through this exercise that's coming up, it will also tackle the issue that was raised last year, that there's really inadequate in terms of intellectual property. Next up is Dr. Balazs Hovarth, the resident representative of UNDP, who will be taking us through the partnership outlook regarding the summit. Welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, please allow me to follow Charles Siwawa's lead and just say all protocols observed. It is truly an honor to be here and to have you here at the second local manufacturing summit co-organized by the Botswana Chamber of Mines and UNDP with a number of other very important partners. UNDP is strongly committed to support jobs creation in Botswana. We believe, as does the government, that only a thriving private sector can be the source of dynamic growth and sustainable jobs in large numbers. And this is very necessary, as we all know, as shown by the very high rate of youth not in employment, not in education, and not in training. and the ever-growing cohorts of youth reaching working age. UNDP's work also aligns closely with the theme of this summit, our supplier development program that Tumi has mentioned covers 8 sectors: mining, agro-processing, infrastructure, other manufacturing, textiles, leather, health, and energy. We select beneficiaries of this program from these sectors. Youth Connect is an essential part of the supplier development program. It chooses youth entrepreneurs as beneficiaries from the same sectors. SDP also supported the Ministries of Entrepreneurship and of Agriculture in developing the 5-year National Agro-Processing Strategy and the 3-year National the other strategy. Both will be launched in this quarter, in the third quarter of 2024. We also are expanding the supplier development program to Zambia. This is at the stage of takeoff. We had high-level delegations visit from Zambia, and then we took a high-level government delegation to Zambia, and this has really set the stage to strengthen partnerships and emergence of supply chains that are crossing into both countries. UNDP has a global private sector strategy which stresses value addition and value chains development as catalysts towards a dynamic private sector-driven economy with manufacturing at its core. UNDP also supports the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and other trade agreements that facilitate trade by the Botswana private sector. We are now holding AFCFTA awareness workshops for private sector organized in partnership with the Ministry of Trade and Investment. I really have to say that UNDP has a long-standing and excellent partnership with Botswana Chamber of Mines. BCM is a co-implementing partner of UNDP's Sustainable Private Sector Development Project. The Chamber of Mines have worked with UNDP consistently, and they have been instrumental in the successes of this project. Of course, UNDP and BCM jointly supported and sponsored the inaugural Local Manufacturing Summit, and this one, the second one as well. We are co-creating a collaborative action plan together with other partners to boost net exports, foster private sector activities in the sectors I have mentioned, and to raise competitiveness. We also seek to support the government in developing policies and regulation so as to create an improved business, trade, and investment environment that enables a thriving manufacturing sector. Please allow me, Your Excellency, to close by thanking you and the Office of the President for supporting the Local Manufacturing Summit for the second year in a row. This summit brings together top-level representatives from the private sector, from banks, from government, and parastatals, all in the same room. And it is a venue that generates genuinely thoughtful and frank discussions as we have seen in the first edition, and I very much hope you will see in the second. And these discussions highlight critical issues and help identify useful solutions towards what is our joint goal. And that goal is a more diversified economy for Botswana that raises net exports based on a competitive manufacturing sector while sustainably creating jobs, well-paying and sustainable jobs. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Arar. Before I ask the entertainer to just come on board to give us a quick item, someone just sent me a message that the panel this morning is all male. And I think that is obvious, but I want to assure that if you look at last year's program, we've done really good this year. So I just want to highlight that it's up to us as the private sector to ensure that we also appoint our women to positions like we've seen the government doing. I mean, we have the permanent secretary to the president being a woman. We have the first finance minister in this country being a woman. We have the first, my favorite, police commissioner being a woman, and most of the permanent secretaries are women. So really this is cue that government has done its part. So private sector, let's make sure that next year's summit is all women on this panel. So well done, Mr. President, and your team on that. Thanks. I would like to call Botshelo Tau. Please give us a quick entertainment piece. Thank you. To usher in His Excellency. What a beautiful piece to usher in Rarona, the President of the Republic of Botswana, His Excellency, Dr. Eric Gaebetswe. He's shaking his head. His Excellency, Dr. Eric Gaebetswe Masisi. His Excellency, Mokgweetsi Eric Masisi, AKA Mac. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, AKA Tumi. Please take your seats. The Director of Proceedings, Ms. Mbakanyi, Minister of Minerals and Energy, Honorable Lefukumwari, Minister of Trade and Industry, Kavela Musi, United States Ambassador to Botswana, Howard Van Franken, the UNDP Resident Representative, Dr. Balaz Hovath, the President of Business Botswana, Reno Mwako, Chamber of Mines Chairperson, Mr. Edwin Elias, all PSs and your deputies, Chamber of Mines CEO, Mr. Charles Siwawa, senior government officials, chief executive officers, heads of parastatals, captains of industry, distinguished panelists and exhibitors, members of the media, members of the arts industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Let me start by sincerely thanking the Botswana Chamber of Mines, BCM, and their partners for inviting me yet again to perform the official opening of the second edition of the Local Manufacturing Conference, LMC, from BCM. I also wish to appreciate BCM for the sterling work they have been doing since their formation over 20 years ago to promote and protect the interests of the mining industry in Botswana. The actual ceremonies and dear guests, it is an open secret that the mining sector plays a pivotal role in our economy. In fact, we owe our spectacular transformation from being one of the world's poorest nations in 1966 to being an upper middle income economy by 2007 to the discovery of rich mineral deposits and prudent macroeconomic management. As a result, our economy has consistently grown at a rapid rate. I must hasten to add that despite our lofty status as an upper middle economy, we cannot afford to rest on our laurels because growth has slowed down in recent years. We still face serious socioeconomic challenges characterized by a high incidence of poverty, inequality, unemployment, and a narrow economic base, particularly in our rural areas. Undoubtedly, one of the demographic groups that is highly affected by unemployment is the youth, who make the majority of our population. And it is certainly worrying, but it is not insurmountable. As a collective comprising government, communities, the private sector, civil society organizations, international organizations, policy think tanks, and centers or institutions of research and thought, innovation, and development, we are duty-bound to address these challenges, particularly by expanding the base of economic activities using knowledge, skills, and innovation, and being driven by the noble imperative not to leave any of us behind. While we're committed to diversifying our sources of economic growth, we still look up to the mining sector to also continue to contribute significantly to investment, economic growth, and diversification, as well as job creation. Given the challenges that I have just outlined, I find the theme for your summit this year, Shaping the Future of Botswana's Manufacturing Sector, Growth, Diversification, and Job Creation, to be most appropriate. It fits in perfectly with government's objective of collaborating with the private sector and other interested parties to transform Botswana's economic development trajectory. The theme also aligns with our plans to create a highly conducive entrepreneurial environment for creating jobs opportunities, particularly for our young people. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very grateful that the mining sector has decided to take a direct path in the growth of our manufacturing sector. A direct path, rather, not path. I need not remind the audience that the manufacturing sector has proven to be the engine of growth for many economies around the world. The rapid growth of what we have now come to call the Asian tiger economies was powered by the manufacturing of goods for domestic and export markets. Botswana should also use the manufacturing sector to boost her GDP growth through creating the urgently needed quality jobs in a host of mining operations and in the emergent industrial development linkages and a supportive service sector. Enterprising fellow citizens and residents, we too must promote and support the manufacturing sector to ensure that it not only serves the domestic market and reduces our high import bill, but also helps us to achieve our deep aspiration of being an export private sector-led economy. If we produce goods for export, then I have no doubt in my mind that we would be placing our economy on a high growth pedestal and could realize our goal of becoming a high income country by 2036. Ladies and gentlemen, our manufacturing sector must deliver for Botswana the results enjoyed by other successful manufacturing economies. It is also important to note that the manufacturing sector, by nature, provides well-paying jobs. It is very strategic in our quest to create sustainable jobs and wealth for Botswana. I wish to emphasize to you that we must make some sacrifices and change the way we do business to reach our Vision 2036 goal of becoming a high-income nation. We already know that we need to grow the economy at an annual growth rate of at least 6% to attain high-income status by 2036. One such sacrifice and step change is the need to raise productivity levels so that we begin to achieve more outputs with less inputs. I cannot say that enough. We need to increase our productivity levels so that we achieve much more with much less. And bear in mind that we've also got to compensate for those who are not working, who naturally, by the fact that they're not working, are not being productive. So we produce for them, but you also hit the targets for them. Every one of us, from Malaudi to the cleaner, to the industrialist, to the banker, even the ambassador. Productive. You see, when ambassadors are productive in our country, it's our economy that benefits a lot more. So we also plead with the diplomatic community to be productive. I was looking for the dean here. Where is she? So I guess you'll be the acting dean, Mr. Ambassador, and ask our ambassadors, and we'll ask our own also to be super productive, particularly for Botswana. Then we rate you highly as ambassadors. The manufacturing firms that BCM and its partners are supporting have no other option but to strive for high levels of productivity to become internationally competitive. These high levels of productivity helped the Asian tigers, and they continue to become internationally competitive and ultimately wealthy. Once again, Botswana too must do the same and ensure that the goods and services that we produce are super world-class in quality. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our economic policy stance as Botswana government is grounded on the private sector as the engine of growth. That's a very important ideological principle. We are grounded in the policy stance of the private sector being our engine of growth, and therefore we must gravitate towards growing the private sector. Therefore, as you embarked on this important initiative to support the manufacturing sector, the government of Botswana wishes to assure you of our readiness to provide a conducive business climate to ensure the success of the manufacturing sector and other sectors in which Botswana has a competitive advantage. This is reflected, among others, in the government's National Transformation Strategy, which prioritizes the development of a competitive manufacturing sector for the effective implementation of our long-term vision. I am reliably informed that the National Planning Commission, the NPC, will be presenting the details, objectives, and economic targets of this vital transformation journey at this second summit. So, Mr. Siwawa, in terms of attainments, for next year, this should be one of them, attributable, I don't know to who. Director of Ceremonies, Beneficiation of our minerals will support manufacturing, as most of the inputs in the manufacturing industry are minerals. Through the minerals policy, government supports the local manufacturing sector by facilitating the development of Botswana's entire mineral value chain in order to maximize economic benefits to the nation. Government's intent is to promote meaningful participation of citizens as investors, as suppliers, service providers in the mineral sector for the economic growth and development of this, our country. To further support other growth initiatives, plans are afoot to set up a high-level Botswana Economic Development Board, chaired by myself, to cut all business-related red tape and ensure the manufacturing sector, and indeed other strategic sectors, do not face unnecessary barriers when seeking to do business in Botswana. Yes, this you will see confirmed as a promise in our manifesto if you happen to be lucky enough to see it and read it. So going forward, it's a solemn promise. We're going to set up the Botswana Economic Development Board. It'll be chaired by the president. I said myself here because I'm still the president, so after elections, we'll see if I'm still president. But if we come back, the president will chair that. And we hope if the others come in, they will copy this bit at least. We're working very hard to ensure that we offer one of the best locations for investment in the region. Please be assured that any delays related to permits, to licenses, and government incentives, including government procurement of locally manufactured goods for the local manufacturing businesses that you seek to support, will be dealt with swiftly. Director of Ceremonies, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by applauding and recognizing the sponsors of the summit for making it possible and wishing you highly productive deliberations during the LMS 2024. Let it rain. Apulaene.
Mr. President, please stay put. We have a small token of appreciation for you to be presented by Ray Edwin Elias. Can someone? Mr. Elias is the Botswana Chamber of Mines chairman. He's doing that in that capacity.
I guess I did this just in case I lose the elections, I get it wrong.
And Mr. President, I'm asked to remind you and certify that those gifts are locally manufactured by Botswana and residents. As he's unwrapping, I would request dignitaries who are in the front row to just come up for a photo shoot opportunity with the President of the Republic of Botswana. front row, please come up for a quick photo with the President of this Republic. Our reality. Thank you, sir. Before I hand over to Honorable Moagi to do the vote of thanks, I would like to recognize the United States Ambassador to Botswana, Your Excellency, Mr. Howard Van Franken. In Setswana, we say, "Moja morago ke kgosi," meaning who he is last, who is last is king. So, welcome, sir. Sorry for the omission earlier. Please come up and give the vote of thanks. Honorable Moagi is the Minister of Minerals and Energy.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, to me. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, Minister of Trade and Industry, Member of Parliament, Muchudi West, Honorable Musi Kafela, our host, Chamber of Mines, Chairman Edwin Elias, and your CEO, Dr. Havath, the UN representative here, together with other members of the diplomatic corps. I've seen Howard Van Franken from America. Permanent Secretary to the President, Emma Pelotletsi, and other permanent secretaries here present. Captains of industry, as earlier enunciated. Members of the Fourth Estate, dear sponsors here, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. I promise I won't take much of your time. Good morning again. Indeed, it is a great honor and privilege to be given a vote of thanks at the 2024 Local Manufacturing Summit that has been organized by the Botswana Chamber of Mines under the theme, Shaping the Future of Botswana's Manufacturing Sector, Growth, Diversification, and Job Creation. Straight away, I need to thank His Excellency for having found time to come and officially open the Local Manufacturing Summit for the second year running. We are very grateful for your support as the mining sector, and we will need it as we continue to implement initiatives which are geared towards diversification of the economy with other sectors such as the manufacturing sector. I'm particularly happy that this summit has brought together players from the manufacturing sector, which has a big role to play in value chains development, which is one of the core elements of the government's reset agenda, as championed by yourself, Your Excellency, Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana. I would like to thank also the Botswana Chamber of Mines and their associates for having seen it fit to organize an event of this magnitude. And as I am told, there are close or even surpassing 50 exhibitors today. This is an opportunity for the exhibitors to showcase their products, and I encourage the commercial sector in the country to embrace Botswana products and be proud to have such and association. My ministry remains committed to ensuring that the purchasing power on the aggregate for all mining sector supports this local manufacturing, in particular under the auspices of the Citizen Economic Empowerment Program, CEP. Director of Ceremonies, as I indeed promised, and drawing towards my concluding remarks, and in signifying the mining sector as compared to other sectors, you'd note that the mining sector or mineral resources have finite minerals, and life of mine reserves in Botswana are now measurable in years rather than decades, as the mines are running out of high-grade ores. Therefore, the time is now for the manufacturing sector to be a targeted area of growth in trade, supported by policy frameworks such as Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, as well as global markets like the AGOA. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank all of you, and notably our sponsors, for having made this a very memorable summit. And I still appeal to you that let us grow this sector, because if you can't grow it, then you can mine it. So thank you very much, everybody, for having made a contribution towards this local manufacturing summit. And I thank you for your kind attention. Pula.
Thank you, Honorable Fox. Good. Oh, is it? Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. I think you can sit. We have a small token of appreciation for you as well, sir. So please just have a sit so that we don't keep you waiting and standing. Okay, cool. And whilst he's standing, and we're waiting for the gift, I think just to make use of time, let me just show what the next steps are. So from here, there will be a tour of exhibition stalls, and this will be led by Ray Joseph Ramoshabi, who's the programs manager at Botswana Chamber of Mines. It will be His Excellency, the President's entourage, and other partners. Yeah. Please come. Resiwawa, the CEO of Botswana Chamber of Mines, is coming up to give a token of appreciation to our Honorable Minister. Is it also locally manufactured, Resiwawa? Okay. Okay, that's good. So the next stage is now the tour of stalls. The private sector have exhibited outside so that you get a feel of what Botswana has to offer right here at GICC. And then as the President's entourage walks out, and I'm going to ask that we rise when they do, the rest of us will remain and go for tea. And then after break, we start at exactly 10:20, and I'll be handing over to my sister, Tirelo Ramasedi, to take you through the rest of the proceedings for the day. Thank you. I think on that note, the tour, Your Excellency, may you. Thank you. I think then we can just step out for tea. Let's be back at, let me check what the time is. Okay, we're right on time. So let's be back at 10:30. Thank you.
And of course, this does bring us to the end of the official proceedings, the official opening of this summit, which of course was officially opened by His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi under the theme Shaping the Future of Botswana's Manufacturing Sector Growth, Diversification and Job Creation. And of course, various speakers, including His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, spoke at length and of course at depth about various issues around the manufacturing sector, and of course the value of this summit, which of course is in its second year running, in terms of the deliverables of the summit, and of course what various stakeholders here, participating stakeholders, have in offering. His Excellency spoke about the value of productivity in terms of growing the growth potential of this industry, in terms of further in enhancing its capacity to contribute to the gross domestic product, and of course producing world-class products, which are of course quality products which will be even competitive at a global level. He talked about the manufacturing sector, of course, being one of the key drivers of the economy of Botswana, and of course the aspiration to leverage opportunities therein. He also mentioned one very important aspect, which is of course to cut all red tape when it comes to the growth potential of the industry, and of course making note of the fact that it is enshrined within the manifesto of his administration, and of course it's something that he seeks to further going into the future to ensure the sustainability of not just the mining sector but also just bringing in the whole value chain of developing this sector and its potential to growing the economy as a whole. Various speakers also spoke to the value of stronger collaboration. The Botswana Chamber of Mines chairperson also spoke to established linkages, in terms of collaborative efforts and driving that home as also a point of reference in terms of enhancing the capacity of this industry and this sector in growing Botswana's economy. Of course, we also did have the Minister of Minerals and Energy wrapping up the official opening proceedings, and of course speaking to issues around trade instruments, which of course are also very key to the investment drive in terms of making sure that this industry or this sector plays its role both domestically and regionally. There's a lot that can be said about this summit, which of course will run for the next 2 days, and of course expecting various deliverables on the part of all participating stakeholders. Where we end it, and of course throwing back to you.
TV reporter there, Otsidile Nkabetse, reporting on the second edition of the Local Manufacturer Summit, which has just opened today with His Excellency President Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi giving a keynote address. All right, so he put a wrap on that official opening of the summit, and we'll be watching what comes out in the next 2 days. This is how you swiftly come on to Botswana Connects. This session starts from right now until 2 p.m. I am Anaraban Tenkalaka Channel, and I'll be your host throughout this time until 2 p.m. Good morning to you. Let's start with the news. In the news at this hour, Botswana remains steadfast in creating a conducive environment for the local manufacturing sector. And the U.S. Army and Botswana Defense Force conduct exercise Southern Accord 2024. And in sport, Letsile Tebogo advances to the semi-finals of the men's 200 meters after finishing first in his heat. Those are the headlines in this bulletin. The government of Botswana